Hey, welcome back to the channel for this Andre Ward vs. Sergey Kovalev 1 infighting film study. This fight was an easy choice for an infighting film study since Andre Ward is one of the best ever at fighting in the clinch. Additionally, as Kovalev was a dangerous power puncher, Ward also used infighting defensively to neutralize Kovalev's offense. Kovalev also displayed infighting skills of his own as he tried to counter Ward's tactics on the inside, and he had some success doing so. Let's start with a short overview of Kovalev's footwork while punching, since it will help explain Ward's choice of infighting tactics. As is typical of Soviet-style boxers, Kovalev tends to keep his torso upright and prioritizes straight punches when moving. He also prefers to generate power by stepping in on punches rather than sitting down and rotating. Kovalev is disciplined at staying heavy on his front foot when punching while moving, without overextending past it to reach Ward. If he does overextend, it's usually while he has enough forward momentum to bring his feet back under him without breaking his rhythm. Because his stance is long and narrow, the weight shift onto his lead foot can be subtle and quick. He also hides it by varying his rhythm and feinting often, and his power helps sell his feints. Here he feints the cross but gazelle jabs. One more punching example to see how deceptively quick Kovalev closes the distance. He starts from out of range, slightly front foot heavy. Getting fully on his front foot to gazelle jab lets him cover extra distance. As you can see by how exposed his chin gets, even though he keeps his balance and rhythm, it's still a high risk, high reward type of footwork. But this footwork generates a lot of power, and Kovalev is already a known power puncher. This makes opponents hesitant to sit down and try and counter him, as they'll take a very hard shot if he beats them to the punch. Kovalev's long, narrow stance is great for fast linear movement, but struggles with lateral movement. After the second round knockdown, Ward started circling to his right more to take away Kovalev's rear hand and force him to continually move to stay in front of Ward, keeping him off of his front foot.
Without getting it.
Near the ropes, Ward circling to his right forces Kovalev to get off his lead foot in order to step left to stay in front of Ward.
Ward is losing.
At this point in the
Kovalev has to take wide lateral steps to stay in front of Ward. He stays out of range of Ward's step jab while doing so.
Want to get inside of Kovalev's long arms and fight him on the
Kovalev resets his stance by stepping back.
inside. When he gets inside,
For Ward and psychologically,
Lateral footwork to stay in front of Ward but out of range.
I think it sways observe.
In addition to actively circling, Ward kept his distance when Kovalev leaned onto his front foot. Kovalev gets front foot heavy, Ward steps back and circles. Kovalev steps in with jab feints, Ward steps back and circles. To summarize, Kovalev wanted Ward standing in front of him at long range, where he can step in to generate power and get full extension on his punches. Ward defended against this with circling footwork to avoid standing in front of Kovalev when he's front foot heavy, and more stepping back to stay out of range of his straight punches. With this context, we'll see how Ward's infighting tactics also help him to achieve the same goals. Like his footwork, his infighting tactics also help him to both avoid standing in front of Kovalev at longer mid-range and keep Kovalev off of his front foot. Kovalev's straight punches were giving Ward a lot of trouble in the early rounds. The slip-right lead underhook was his main defensive tactic for dealing with it. Ward would slip down to get under his punches, underhook with his lead arm, and use Kovalev's forward momentum against him by turning him with the underhook.
Going to have to be great right now to overcome.
Kovalev usually reacted to the underhook by headlocking Ward and leaning on him, in order to prevent Ward from raising his head up to punch in the clinch. Ward grabs behind Kovalev's leg when clinch walking while bent down.
The thing about Kovalev's power is it makes it such that Andre has to walk a tightrope.
This is nice defensive footwork by Ward while under pressure to simultaneously plant his back foot and bend down. Kovalev's upright stance makes it a bit easier for Ward to get below him. Ward waist bends and grabs for the hip, then pushes off his lead foot to step his rear foot and turn. Ward was very good at transitioning between offense and defense on the inside. One way he did so was to square himself up to Kovalev after turning him in order to fight in the clinch. After they started turning, Kovalev's headlock would pull Ward's left leg forward, but then he'd keep stepping left in order to square himself up. If Ward's able to free his head here, he can start punching.
Let him out. But you know, Max, sometimes when a guy feels...
Kovalev frames on the neck, pressing down on Ward to pull him forward past his base. Ward keeps his left foot planted, steps his right foot forward, and underhooks to recover his balance. He uses the base of his planted right foot to roll right and escape the frame. After escaping the frame, he steps his right foot over to get back in front of Kovalev, then underhooks. Now he's squared up with double underhooks, but Kovalev clinch walks forward to prevent Ward from making space as the ref intervenes.
I said he has to throw more power.
Here's two other examples of Ward rolling right to escape Kovalev's lead hand head control.
Sergey Kovalev backing up. You got to take it to him.
Ward is clinch walking forward here. When his left foot steps forward to return to his orthodox stance, he rolls onto his back foot to escape the head control.
2-1. Sir.
Ward steps his rear foot back and rolls onto it to escape.
Get off his neck. Don't do it.
Here's an example of Ward escaping the front headlock by squaring up and rolling left. After slipping down, he outside pivots, which squares him up. Whether Kovalev has head control or a front headlock, when Ward squares himself up to the right of Kovalev's body like this, Kovalev can no longer use his body weight to press down with his lead arm. From here, Ward steps his lead foot back to southpaw and rolls out of the headlock. His head comes up from the roll under Kovalev's chin and he starts punching. Kovalev tries to pull him off balance with the underhook.
Get distance to fire a big shot. Ward gets away before he can do it. All right, here we go.
Losing it up to that point.
Kovalev wants to finish. He's gonna.
Under pressure on the ropes, Ward forward waist bends and grabs for the hip. Ward's right arm keeps Kovalev's left leg close to him, making it harder for Kovalev to step it back to drop his weight into his frame on Ward's neck. It also helps Ward clinch walk forward to center ring, since it's harder for Kovalev to step back far enough to plant his foot. Kovalev switches from head control to the headlock.
Kovalev has very smart feet, Max. And what I mean by that is he's not allowing Andre.
A strong arm swing on the underhook helps Ward to turn him.
Distance where everybody else usually allows Andre to fight it.
Quit standing in front so much. Quit short so much. It's just... No, let him up. He keeps grabbing me, Bird.
But backing up, I'm surprised you don't see Andre Ward back up that often. But he's backing up in his front. And you see that? He does a lot of...
Jab to the body.
Ward's leg strength and solid footwork both give him a stable base, which helps him to wrestle and fight on the inside. When he elongates his stance with a big step in, his toe bends down to ensure his foot lands flat instead of heel striking. He's about to get hit with a jab and then bumped into by Kovalev. If his feet weren't stable after his big step in, either of those impacts could have disrupted his balance and prevented him from turning Kovalev.
Ward up to stop that.
Kovalev times the slip with his cross, but the torso rotation means he can't get the front headlock. Ward raises up and presses his head into Kovalev's neck. Ward squares up to him with footwork.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Things on an even keel.
This clip is a good example of Ward using this tactic to smother. First he gets hit by the jab, then the rear hook glances off him. Then he uses his head to smother the lead hook and deflects the rear hook after with his lead shoulder.
Distance where he can extend his arms and land his long shots. get distance to fire before he can do it. This is
Ward steps back into the ropes and loads his weight onto his back foot, setting up his forward waist bend. With Ward on his back foot against the ropes, Kovalev commits to a combination, but Ward was expecting this. Without the front headlock, Ward can quickly raise back up and clinch walk off the ropes.
Yes,
This is a great fight.
you are. If Andre Ward
Ward lands some punches while they're squared up.
is able to overcome what he had to overcome early in this moment, as though we're going to get to hear them.
That's what the fans asked for. They give us the
Now that we've seen the strategic and technical details behind Ward's slip right lead underhook, we can look at how Kovalev countered it. As we saw earlier, when Kovalev stepped in too far in his punches, it allowed Ward to slip underneath and turn him. So Kovalev first sets up his counter by limiting the size of his step in. Then he would usually try to time the bottom of Ward's slip with a punch. He also made sure to quickly retract his punch so he could frame and push with his arms. He also kept his rear arm tight to his body so Ward couldn't swim the underhook below his elbow.
I thought
Kovalev takes a small step on his jab and makes sure to quickly retract his jab tight to his body. He times his cross for the bottom of Ward's slip. He frames horizontally after his cross to maintain space, setting up his check hook.
have the edge because of his He's very explosive.
Let him beat him up.
In the next two examples, Kovalev leads with a cross first. Keeping his rear elbow tight blocks the underhook and lets him get rear bicep control, which sets up his push.
Look, they're the same height.
be taking a toll now.
Body shots, Roy.
Yeah.
Kovalev tries to time Ward's slip with a lead hook. If Ward was slipping down the middle or to his left, Kovalev would have an easier time getting head control after his hook, since he'd be able to drop his forearm onto Ward's neck. But Ward's slip right meant his head was usually behind Kovalev's lead forearm and protected by his lead shoulder. Kovalev's tight rear elbow prevents the underhook.
Underhook land.
Preventing Ward's underhook sets up Kovalev's hook up top.
Andres was harder.
Yep, under.
Better, but sometimes you'll
Kovalev frames horizontally after the uppercut and throws a check hook to pivot out. Ward extends his right arm to create traffic to block the hook.
that's and you can't
Off to me because both guys landed good. Spectacular land.
Ward, and I thought there were a couple others that.
Yeah, Kovalev following Ward.
Stop. Pull that back.
Great, Max.
Bar, no question.
Ward, and part of that is he didn't start getting snap.
I just wonder if
Good
Andre
body
Ward
shot. Oh, look at the body shot by Kovalev.
several good body shots in this round.
I think he knows that.
One way Ward used infighting to keep Kovalev off of his front foot was to suddenly slip and step into head-to-chest position. By doing so, he's using his forward momentum to crash into Kovalev, pushing him off of his front foot and backing him up, forcing him to reset. When Kovalev managed to stand his ground, Ward would clinch up. By quickly stepping inside or into close range, Ward is also getting himself inside of Kovalev's power, as Max Kellerman described it during the fight. He's referring to the fact that Kovalev can't generate as much power when he's not front foot heavy, when his punches can't get full extension, and because many of his punches are partially or fully deflected while Ward is smothering him. Ward would do this right when Kovalev was stepping in to the tip of his range, or just after he had done so. This denied Kovalev the ability to set up his attacks by sneaking onto his front foot or feinting from the tip of his range. He only had a brief moment to do anything on his front foot before Ward was stepping in to crash into him.
Interesting. So
One way Ward did this was to slip left on his step in, then roll right as his rear foot shifted forward, returning his head to the center line and pressing it into Kovalev's chest. Ward was disciplined at not leaning past his lead foot and keeping his high guard tight while he was slipping.
30 seconds to go. Ward has forced Kovalev.
Another way Ward did this was to slip right on his step in, then rotate his torso as he leaned onto his front foot. Kovalev stands his ground, looking to time Ward coming in, but misses, so Ward can clinch up.
Stop!
Kovalev sees it coming and steps back to counter with a combo.
Power shots.
Ward occasionally punched his way in. Ward grabs the leg to prevent Kovalev from making space with his head control.
And Ward is doing more to Ward.
Here's another example of Ward's great balance. Kovalev steps back as he comes in, so he repeats the footwork. Each foot plants firmly and he keeps his balance even after getting hit coming in. This keeps him in position to throw the lead hook after.
Ward actually Sergey wrestling with Ward in that instance.
The punches that the judges should be seeing, and that's why he won the first.
The only thing that could possibly fail him.
Nice quick step back and rear uppercut by Kovalev to time Ward coming in, then push off.
His boxing skill.
Right. Fight him on the inside. They seem to be. But
Andre Ward has not been in this position ever as a professional. Down on the cards, you have to imagine, having been hurt, knocked down. Especially when that puncher's landing shots to win if he can't put that down.
He's landing plenty.
Good body shot by Ward.
With keeping in mind that
Kovalev knew Ward was looking to throw the lead hook from close range once his weight was centered around his lead foot, so he would push off and pivot out before Ward could punch.
Good right hand by Kovalev.
Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Damage, and those are the shots that are winning the rounds. Andre Ward doing a lot of holding.
looks to me, just eyeballing it, Roy, not just that Ward moved up, but that it's a good big.
It slowed a little bit here in round number 7.
Round, a jab from Kovalev.
Ward's lead hook makes sense from this position, since his rear hand is smothered by Kovalev's lead hand. Ward makes a few inches of space for the lead hook by pivoting his rear foot to rotate his torso and pulling his lead shoulder back.
What if Kovalev is also a thoroughbred, and he's built that?
He's never had a knockout past the 8th round. Just see what he can do.
And Andre was pushing the issue more.
Scorecards right now.
Well, it's obvious that these judges really don't really.
They certainly didn't in the Darlington Perez-Maurice Hooker fight.
His championship pedigree is showing up, but again, Kovalev's power can change at any time.
Kovalev
don't often get to see real greatness.
11 times. Ward has the momentum in the fight now as we come to round number 10. Harold, how do you have
best time for Andre in the fight because now he's comfortable and he knows how to do things.
Ward can score knockdowns or knock him out. The Letterman card is unofficial and judge.
And when Ward started making things uncomfortable for Kovalev, Kovalev would start to fold. To a game plan and went back to boxing when he had to. Kovalev did it. Disciplined fight for a big puncher.
He hasn't lost this round yet.
Yeah, frustration of that.
Oh, good hook by Ward. He's a good good left hand right there. Kovalev the uppercut on
Kovalev, but he may feel that way.
Oh, good hook by Kovalev.
Accustomed to fighting at a super fast pace.
Oh, good body shot by Kovalev.
Kovalev occasionally used a footwork trap to bait Ward in and help him close the distance behind his jab. It lands flush the first time, but Ward sees it coming after that.
Getting closer.
Kovalev's rear foot stays planted the entire time. His lead foot steps back into a shuffle. From here, he pushes off his rear foot to step in again behind his jab.
It's harder for Kovalev to do that.
And Andre was pushing the issue more at that close range.
And in terms of the score, we haven't seen.
Alright, that brings us to the end of part 1 of this film study. In part 2, we'll look at how each fighter wrestled for position in the clinch and how they set up their punches in the clinch. Thanks for watching.